Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to ask the Premier of Nevis some questions as it relates to matters in the Caribbean and Africa, but most importantly issues affecting St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm going to go in now to ask some questions, and I'll see you guys on the inside. And this is where I'm going to go. How are you doing, brother? I'm gonna go inside now and see you guys on the inside. I normally ask questions once I'm here on island every month. For those of you who are confused, Nevis, I'm on the island of Nevis, and the island of Nevis has its own government, but I'm in one country, St. Kitts and Nevis. The federal government is in St. Kitts, and this is the local government in Nevis. The press conference is being held in this building right here. This is the flag for Nevis, and as you can see, the flag for St. Kitts and Nevis up this way. But my friends, I'm gonna see you guys on the inside, where I'm gonna ask the Premier of Nevis some questions.
Any other questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. Premier. My name is Bjorn, and I am a YouTube content creator with special focus on Africa and the Caribbean, and I specialize in travel and reaction videos. Mr. Premier, I was in Africa for about 4 months, and what I noticed is that many persons, they know very little about Africa and the Caribbean. My question to you is, what is your government doing and the federal government doing to bridge the gap between Africa and the Caribbean? Question number 2. Currently, the federal government of St. Kitts and Nevis do not have a representative from Nevis in cabinet. This week, the federal government took a delegation of 12 persons to the United Nations. There is also a question of fair share, which you made a number of financial arrangements that we need to be amended. There is also no attempt to amend the Constitution to give Nevis a permanent seat in the federal government. The question is, considering all of the above, do you think an independent Nevis will do better? In other words, what are your thoughts on secession for Nevis? Question number 3. You made a call, Mr. Premier, for the diaspora to come back home. What plans and programs do your government have in place to assist our returning nationals to come back home and reintegrate into the Nevisian society? Question number 3. I have 4, sorry. Question number 4. Over the years, I have heard of a number of programs. You also mentioned a number of programs that assist women and youth. The question is, what programs or plans do you have in place to assist men over the age of 35? The last question. In your presentation, you mentioned that you invite the press to have a look to see what is happening inside the schools and the school kitchen. And it's a great idea, but that is very difficult, because as a content creator myself and members of the press, I can tell you that, for example, when you had the school opening, I was trying to get some lovely YouTube videos to show people how a school looks like in Nevis to open, and I was told that you need permission from the government. And also some projects that went on in the past, the same thing, I went on the site and I was trying to show people what is happening. I was told that you need permission from the government. So the question is, what is the government doing to improve freedom of the press.
Okay, Mr. Hanley, first of all, welcome back. I think that we were all enlightened by your journey to Africa. And I sat at the barber shop many a day, and you were the topic of conversation in terms of your travels and what was happening in Africa. And I think you opened a lot of eyes here. I myself have only visited the continent in the north. I've been to Morocco and I've been to Senegal, but I've not ventured as deep as you have ventured. And so I think that I ought to record my appreciation to you and say how grateful we were because we were able to see you, somebody we know, in Africa, in various parts of Africa. I think that I saw something when you were in, is it Uganda? Yeah, Uganda and Kenya, yeah. Right, at one point. So I want to commend you for that because you have always indicated your love of Africa and your interest in seeing a greater engagement with Africa. And you have taken it the next step. You have actually gone there and showed us what it looks like. The truth is, I think why your journey was so fascinating is because most of us have no concept of Africa. And so I'm not surprised that you say Africa has no concept of us, because we have no concept of Africa either. That's a product of many things, including colonialism, where we were somehow brought here and separated from the motherland. And many of us, Mr. Hanley, have no regard for that history. Many of us have no understanding of it. In fact, African people sometimes, I'm told, look down on us. And I believe sometimes we look down on African people. So we need, I think, more education. We need a better understanding. And that's why I start by commending you, because I thought what those videos did was to bring home the reality of life in Africa. I remember I saw you doing something with some banana. I can't remember what you call it, but the way they cook the banana. Matoke. I thought that was quite fascinating. Okay. What can we do? We now have the Afro-Exim Bank that has been engaged with Caribbean governments. We now had meetings between the African Union and CARICOM. You recall former president of Kenya, Kenyatta, was here, and Mia Mottley of Barbados has been a champion. The relationship with Africa, I think, is critical. You would have heard me say on more than one occasion that with the 53 or 54 countries in the African Union and the 13 or so that are in CARICOM, that we represent collectively almost 1/3 of the countries in the globe. Could you imagine if Africa and the Caribbean joined forces on important issues at the United Nations? Our voice would be a voice that every country in the world would have to respect. And so I think that there are opportunities. I know that when I was foreign minister, there was the opportunity to open an embassy in Addis Ababa. I know that there have been opportunities to open embassies elsewhere. And I realize now that during my tenure, we did accredit an ambassador to Kenya, and I believe, if memory serves, to Ghana and to South Africa. But I believe that countries like Barbados have gone further and have opened embassies in Kenya, I know. And I have heard that CARICOM is minded to open something in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, which is the seat of the African Union. I say all that to say that greater effort is needed for us to engage with Africa. And the people-to-people engagement, because you did not go to Africa as any diplomat or as anybody other than Bjorn Hanley from Kitts-Nevis. But that people-to-people engagement, I think, is also critical. We actually had some bloggers who were here during the Mango Fest from Kenya. And I was quite surprised. They drove around, they had a lot to say, and these are people who are widely followed. With technology, it also allows us to do more. And so I'm hopeful, Mr. Hanley, that the message that you have brought and the message that some of us continue to preach will lead to greater engagements. I always speak about my time as foreign minister simply because I was on a particular path with Africa. I was the foreign minister that engaged diplomatically with 14 new African nations during my tenure. And I negotiated visa waiver arrangements with 12 new African nations during my tenure. That is something that I have criticized this current government for, federal government, because I think they've stopped. What we had was a great momentum going. By now, we should have had diplomatic relations and visa waiver access to all of Africa if we had kept up that momentum. Having traveled there, I'm sure you would have, no doubt, in some countries have to get a visa or experience some difficulties at the border. We should not. And we are part of the 6th region of Africa. That is the diaspora. And I believe that we should actively seek out these opportunities. And in my experience, Africa has been willing and accommodating in relation to these matters. It just requires us to have that initiative. So I agree with you. I believe that we need to do more. The UN delegation, you said there's nobody from Nevis. Well, there's nobody from Nevis in the cabinet. You're right. Nobody in the federal government. We are only there as members of the opposition, and no invitation was extended to anybody from Nevis to attend. I'm comforted, though, that the Prime Minister, while he has been there, has been in touch. In fact, he has called me twice since he has been there to discuss some matters on which he were relevant to Nevis, specifically geothermal. And we have continued to have that rapport and that conversation. But that absence of Nevis, sadly, is not new. We went into independence in 1983, and there was a joint NRP-PAM government until 2005. No, what am I saying? 1995, forgive me, 1995. And then from 1995, Nevis was nowhere close to cabinet until 2010, when Patrice Nesbitt would have been named Attorney General and then after Minister of Foreign Affairs. So from 1995 to 2010, 15 years, there was nobody from Nevis there. And then from 2010 to 2015, there was Patrice Nesbitt. And then we took over in Team Unity. And we find ourselves now in a situation where nobody from Nevis again is there. And we all understand that the way that the Constitution is constructed, the only way somebody from Nevis is going to be in cabinet is if somebody from Nevis is needed to form a government. That's the reality. Right? I suppose some will argue that in 2010, Patrice Nesbitt was not needed to form a government because at the time Dr. Douglas had 6 seats. But we understood among the 6, he had Timothy Harris and Sam Conda who were more off the reservation than on the reservation. And so we understood that Dr. Douglas in 2010 also needed help. And that's why he reached over and grabbed Patrice Nesbitt and made him his Attorney General to get numbers in the cabinet. So, Mr. Handley, what do we do about that? Sometimes it is what it is. There will come a time, no doubt again, when those seats in Nevis are going to be relevant to forming a government. There will come a time, no doubt, where in the future, the parties that are now currently island parties and not national parties may become national parties. So, for example, the CCM or the NRP or whatever may come out of those 2 parties may well start to run candidates all over St. Kitts as well. The Labour Party, the People's Action Movement, the PLP, or whoever were to emerge may start to say, hey, why don't we run candidates in 11 constituencies? Right now the Boundaries Commission is meeting, and it may well lead to an increase in constituencies. So these are all considerations which may come in the future. But part of the problem, I think, on the political level is that you now have a situation where in every election, Mr. Hanley, 8 seats are only contested by parties based in St. Kitts, and 3 seats are only contested by parties based in Nevis. There's no party that is a national party. The St. Kitts Labour Party call themselves the St. Kitts-Nevis Labour Party. They should take Nevis out the name, because they have nothing to do with Nevis. The People's Action Movement should say the St. Kitts People Action Movement, because, again, Concerned Citizens Movement should be the Nevis Concerned Citizens Movement. Well, at least NRP is honest. They're the Nevis Reformation Party. Because none of the parties are national. So that, at the start of every election, you already have that inbuilt situation. that unless some party in St. Kitts gets 6 seats, you're going to have that horse trading and that back and forth. You say constitutional reform and whether or not that needs to happen, I agree. It has been talked about a lot. It has not yet happened. And I think it has not happened because it is not something that has excited the attention or any real controversy. And we will wait to see whether or not that can happen. Secession for Nevis. There was a point in my life when I was an avowed secessionist. I think you know that I advocated quite strongly. I think with the benefit of time, and as again, having been in government, and realizing how hostile the world is to small countries, I feel that if we have a chance to make St. Kitts and Nevis the best small island state in the world, we should give it that chance. If, however, that does not work, then it's a matter for the people of Nevis to decide. So, I, for example, do not support the removal of Clause 113 from the Constitution. Some say it ought to be removed. I don't support that because I feel that the people of Nevis should have the opportunity to determine their own destiny if they so choose. What I'm hopeful is that through a relationship, through the tightening of our bonds, through fair share, defined as I've tried to define it today, that the people of Nevis and the people of St. Kitts can so live together, work together, function together, build together, that the impetus, the push-pull factors that would have led to the cries of Nevisians to secede, that those will fade. That's what I'm thinking can happen if that relationship. Because when you look at secession, secession has always been a reaction to something. When Mr. Daniel and his team would have led the illegal secession vote, back then the illegal referendum, it was a reaction to the treatment that they were getting from Bradshaw and the Labour Party. In 1996 it was, 1997 when we had the secession vote, it was a reaction to what Nevis was experiencing from the then Denzel Douglas-led Labour Party in government. There was a point some people forget when under Attorney General Delano Bart, they proposed to pass legislation in St. Kitts that would essentially take over the offshore sector in Nevis by stroke of the legislative pen, something that we had built. They would just take it over. Say all companies had to re-register in Bastia. And Nevis would have seen millions of dollars wiped out of its economy overnight. So these are the things that we reacted to. It was always a reaction. I feel that if we are to go into independence for the island of Nevis, it can't be a reaction. It has to be something that is planned, that we work towards, that we educate our people and understand what the implications are going to be for us. So that's my view in relation to that. I think ultimately it's an issue for the people of Nevis, and I respect their right to make that issue. The plans for our diaspora to come home, we are currently finalizing a survey. I've asked the assistance of some experts in that regard, and what we hope to do is to really find out from people living abroad what would be some of the most important factors for you if you want to come home. Is it tax? Is it healthcare? Is it infrastructure? Housing? What would be some of the most important factors? So we are working on that. But I will tell you, Mr. Hanley, the call has already been noticed. In fact, I am hoping to make a trip to Bermuda, where I hope to engage with Bermudans, because I'm told that a significant percentage of Bermudans trace their roots to St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I'm already making arrangements to go there. And this will be my message to them when I go, because Bermudans are very wealthy. Bermudans, in terms of their pensions, are able to come here and live very comfortably when we look at the exchange rate and we look at the different cost of living. And many of them love Nevis, and we already have some who are coming back to St. Kitts and Nevis and are doing so in an organic way. Nobody has put anything in place for them. So I am saying that we could probably do even better if we put something in place for them. What do we have for men over 35? I don't know that there's any specific program that we have for men over 35, Mr. Hanley. most men at 35, you expect that they're on their own feet already. They're doing things for themselves. They would have gone to school. They have their families. They're doing what they need to do. So, I agree, men need their fair share. But if you're 35, we expect that by then you're into your life, you're into your profession, you know, whatever it may be. So we don't have any specific thing for men who are over 35. But I hear you, and it is something perhaps that we need to look at. Press access to schools and various sites, it's really just sometimes a matter of protocol. It's not that we're trying to restrict the press, but oftentimes we ask that you get the permission, because then we know. The principal would know, Mr. Hanley is coming to do some filming, the PS would know, you know, the people who are necessary would know. And we try also, because sometimes it's an issue of security, you don't want people just showing up, walking through a school, walking through the sites. It might be disruptive for teachers. So at least the principal knows. And if you want to go on any site, you just make a call. Principal say Mr. Hanley or Ms. Hewlett or Mr. Barth is coming to do something, and that just goes up the chain. So it's not a question that we're trying to restrict, it's more one of just the proper protocol. Okay? Any more questions for me? The rains have come. It's a good point to end the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. God willing, I hope to see you next month for another edition of the Premier's press conference. And Mr. Hanley, once again, welcome home. All right, thank you very much.
There you had it, my friends. It's been a rainy day today, but that was me earlier in the Premier's press conference asking questions as it relates to matters in the Caribbean, in St. Kitts and Nevis, my home country, and also in Africa, my friends. St. Kitts and Nevis is a unique place. Nevis, that I'm on right now, that I asked the questions earlier today in this video, has its own premier and it has its own government. The Premier, Mark Brantley, the person who answered the questions earlier, is the Premier of Nevis and leader of government on the island of Nevis. But in St. Kitts, we have a federal government who has a prime minister responsible for St. Kitts and Nevis. So it's two islands, two governments, unique system. So from time to time when I'm on the island, I normally go to the Premier's press conference and ask questions. I've been doing this now for about 5 years, or just over 5 years, my friends. But thank you for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe to my channel, like the video, share it with all your friends and family. We're over 10,000 subscribers right now, and we're growing rapidly, and with your support we are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. So thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you again in the next video. Make sure to comment your thoughts as well, and let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about the questions. Let me know what you think about the answers that the Premier of Nevis gave, and let's have a little chat in the comment section. But like the video, share it with all your friends and family, and most importantly, please subscribe to the channel, my channel, Bjorn in Africa. I'll see you again in the next video, and thank you. We're over 10,000 subscribers right now, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you again. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye.